Hello and welcome to the first episode of Beyond the Veil. My name's Sid Tapey, I'm your host, and today's topic is going to be forgiveness. And we're bouncing off this painting here called De La Rosa. By the end of the video, I do hope to give you a broader understanding of the phenomenal topic of forgiveness, the value of it, the beauty of it, and the power of it. So the dictionary defines forgiveness as an act of being able to absolve or pardon someone for an offense, to bring about a sense of remission. That act of pardoning, I have found throughout the years, has been able to bring about freedom. It brings about a freedom within our heart. And I'm sure you've experienced it as well. We experience it every day, actually. And I'll touch upon that as I go along. And I'll be touching upon the painting as I go along and pretty much focus more around the end of the clip to let you know some of the process and what went around it. But you'll get a deeper meaning into the artist, myself, into the significance of the topic, forgiveness. So throughout the years that I've, been doing life as yourself, I found that forgiveness was something that we tend to receive from the day we're born. We come into a world where we receive pain, but then suddenly there's a sense of being comforted and being absolved for, I guess, being offended. I think, like a baby comes out crying because it's like, what have you done to me? Like, what's going down? You've upset me. And the moment we receive that beautiful care, that nurturing of everything's going to be okay, you see a baby that tends to just get comfortable and just starts resorting to what it ought to be doing, and that is to be nurtured and to be cared for. And within that beauty of life, you're able to find that sense of being absolved and cared for comes by. But through the years, you tend to get hit by a few blows where you get offended, where things don't exactly go your way, or things don't go the way, like, towards your convictions, what you truly believe in. And if something offends that or just shakes that up, it can tend to drive that sense of resentment towards the person that is the so-called instigator of that offense. And we have the tendency to want to act out in such a way where it wants to bring about, an eye for an eye or a tooth for a tooth, like fighting fire with fire. And I've found, simply put, that when we do such things, you're going to create more of a fire, because it's pretty logical that if you fight fire with fire, you're going to create a bigger fire. And fire consumes, fire destroys. Fire is great in a sense, to keep warm and to be able to bring energy and whatnot. It's got many a purpose. But when it comes to the point of resentment and fighting, arguing, etc., all I have seen and all I have found is that it just ends up leaving both parties wounded, jaded, and unsure of one another. And this is where the beauty and that logic kicks in of how we fight fire. We fight fire with water. That's one of the quickest ways to be able to go about fighting a fire. And water, in this sense, is coming about in words of understanding, of knowing that I too am guilty of an offense. It may not be towards the very person I'm involved with at that time, but I have to reflect and look at my life and realize that I too am a partaker of creating offense in this world. I come from quite a shady sort of history. Growing up in Sydney City, come from a broken home where there was a lot of unrest, a lot of emotional and physical unrest, to say the least. And these were things that, sure, was able to handle. That's why I'm here today. But in all actuality, it led down a path of confusion and resentment and bitterness towards life, towards the fact that I was receiving a lot of this pain and hurt from home, from the ones I believed were supposed to be loving me the most. And they were definitely loving me, but within their own understanding and within their own understanding of their world that they've grown up in. And I found that through those years, ultimately I was coming down a road of escapism. I wanted to get away. I was out in the streets a lot, in the streets of Sydney, getting involved in the things I got involved in. But I kept putting a front up against the things or the people that I believed had offended me. It wasn't until I ended up realizing my own wretchedness as well, and the amount of pain I too had caused, that I had to confront the matter and not feel so justified in my pride. And I had to realize that even in the grand scheme of things, I too was guilty of many an offense. Now, forgiveness ultimately came. Many of you may know my story. As a Christian, I realized in the eyes of perfection I had fallen short, and I was so thankful to receive Christ as my Savior, to forgive me for my wrongdoings and be, back on par in relationship with God as a free gift. So undeserved, obviously. And within my relationships, I ended up finding that how that affected my relationships. It opened my eyes to realize that I had been forgiven for so many things that I had done, for the unfaithfulness I had caused, for the damage I had caused in people's lives, for the deception, for the theft, for the murderous hatred sort of things that I had done. I had to realize I was just as guilty, and who am I to start wanting to cast and throw stones on that other person? Now, sure, they could fight back, they could hurt me, etc., and maybe justifiably so within their own hurt. But I had to realize that I too had been forgiven of such an offense, which is why I'm able to wake up every morning. And this is what I was talking about earlier. Like, every morning we receive a sense of forgiveness. Like, the sun shines every morning. The sun shines on the good and the bad. The rain falls on the good and the bad people in life. There's a sense and an understanding of mercy when we look at nature, and it causes us to look at life and want to hold on to life. And unfortunately, unforgiveness can also bring about a sense of being jaded with this life, where we totally want to... It's sort of weird. It's like a juxtaposition, if that's what you want to call it, or an oxymoron, where you want to escape this life because of your hurt and your pain in a way of wanting to survive. And I know it doesn't make sense, and I've been through that myself in a heavy way. And I'll share that story maybe another time. When I was about 25 years old, I went through that huge darkness, so to speak. And ultimately, what the key there is to understand there's forgiveness. That we are forgiven, that we too can come in a position of power to forgive and break those chains. Now, it doesn't mean that when we forgive someone or something that, we'll forget. The memory might be there, but we can move on, and we release the power, that hold that resentment can have. We release it and just say, you know what? I too have done wrong. This person has done wrong. It hurts. I may not forget, but I can forgive, because I need to be set free of that heaviness and that darkness in order to move on. Now, that's speaking individually. I believe that works as a whole for you as a person. I know that it works for a number of you out there listening, but some of you might be going through this right now, and sometimes, or I'd say more often, not all the time, it's as easy as pulling back, being honest with yourself, being quiet, being still, less distractions, and reflecting. Reflect sometimes. If the pain is so heavy, the hurt, the offense is so heavy, I think it's okay to mourn and grieve that, of course. But within that as well, think about your own imperfections. Think about the fact that you've still got air in your lungs. There's a sense of forgiveness over your life. The sun's still shining for you. You still have the very breath that you have. So life's still going on for you, and it's a precious thing. And that act of forgiveness can definitely free you from that hold, that stronghold that's over your life, to be able to move on and be able to relate with someone with a lot more wisdom. So I believe I'll leave it there for now. We'll probably touch upon it later. And now, how does this tie in? Well, the rose is a symbol of love, romantic love, a lot of the times. And within that love, love breaks through, like forgiveness breaks through. There's a sense of you're being absolved of any imperfections, and you say, I love you regardless, that unconditional love. And the rose through history has signified that. And I painted this rose with a wax medium. A wax medium creates a thicker substance to be able to mix your oil paints with and create a lot more texture within the painting. You'll see that within the close-ups where you've got just thicker, looser textures. And I really enjoyed that. It was a live painting. When I painted this, it was a live painting over at Park Road in Brisbane under the Eiffel Tower. I thought it was site-specific, being the Eiffel Tower, France, romance, all that sort of beautiful, cool, stereotypical, cliche, cheesy sort of stuff that we all do really love, I reckon. And I wanted to create a sense of freshness, which is why I chose that lemony, light, pale lemony yellow in the back, and wanted to add some great, sharp, defined textures that are very rigid, using some quite thick brushes and rubbery squeegees as well. And and move with techniques and shapes that I believe, I say to myself, I think one would look cool there. It looks a little bit empty. I want to add a bit of movement there. I want to add a bit of movement in this area. And I just play around, and I wanted to be more animated. Seeing it was a live painting, I wanted to move around a bit more rather than being so involved with a lot of my intricate work that I do. It sort of just keeps me right there, and I didn't think it would be too pleasing on the eye to just see, someone live painting and just staying in one area for like an hour or two. So, that's where we're at. And in regards to this painting, still got to sign it off. And it is up for grabs. It is up for sale. I'm going to look at, I envision frames sometimes, but the framing's up to the buyer, I guess. Personally, I think it would look good with a beautiful white frame with maybe some non-reflective glass. Maybe thick or thin would look kind of cool. I think something thick and, a bit of substance would be great. Even a beautiful gold ornate frame would look awesome, I think. But you can let me know what you guys think. Throw me some feedback. And if you got any comments, you want to stir up a convo with any of the community, hopefully the growing community out there, that would be wonderful. But I really thank you for joining me on this first episode. And I can't wait to get on the next one. All right. So God bless you all. See ya.